Hi, and welcome to our fall webinar. This time, the topic is how not to fall behind with your intranet. We're going to show you some really valuable strategies and demonstrate tools to help you make the most from your new or existing intranet. My name is Yaroslav Pensarski. Also, I'm joined by Erica Hackinson, helping me with the Q&A and managing the webinar. So welcome again. So first off, if this is your first time joining us, you're probably thinking, who's this guy and why should I listen? Which is fair. So let me start with a little bit of a background. So my team and I have been building intranet solutions for over 15 years now, and for clients in insurance, healthcare, oil and gas, and professional services, just to name a few. And now for almost 3 years at Origami, we're really bringing intranets to the next level by making sure your intranet is not just another cookie cutter, but truly shaped to you and to your organization, which is where Origami name comes from. Also, as a team, we have collected, a ton of knowledge and experience, and we love sharing it. It's really our passion, and today we're sharing it in this webinar. But if you also catch me presenting at any of the upcoming Microsoft conferences, feel free to stop me and say hi. I'd love to chat. Okay, so that's it for the intro. Let's dive straight into it. And by the way, if you have any questions along the way, just type them up in the Q&A and Erica will queue them up at the end. Okay, so the content that we've presented, I know everybody's busy, so we've got 30 minutes and we've packed as much as possible. But we want to kind of align what content we're going to be targeting today. So if you're building a brand new intranet, it's really important in this time to start off the right foot. Reduce the risk of any costly revamp down the road, and avoid building things from scratch if they are available out of the box or with light configuration. If you have an existing intranet and you're seeing that your adoption is dropping, or in a lot of organizations, adoption is not even measured, do your users complain about finding content? We also cover strategies to increase the usability without really spending a dime. So with that, our first tip number one, your intranet needs to be functional to be adopted. Avoid the temptation of launching minimal but not functional intranet. So the comparison that I have here is, it's kind of like, imagine hearing about really amazing movie, you're watching all the ads that are being put on YouTube, and then the trailer looks great and there's good actors in it. But then you start watching it and it's just lacks in every way. The plot's not there, the acting is bad. It's a letdown. So you'll never come back. It's not like you're going to come back next day and be like, oh yeah, let me resume and see if I like it today. So same thing with your intranet. If you're planning to launch the intranet, make sure that it's, it could be minimal, but it needs to be, first of all and foremost, it needs to be functional for the users. So what does functional mean? Functional, especially for the intranet world, means that users can quickly navigate and find information they need. That's the number one thing. Of course, there's communication goals, employee engagement goals, but this is the number one thing. This is what users come to work. They come to work to work, and they need to find information they need to get the work done. So what you're seeing here on the right-hand side is actually a distribution of a test that we've done for one of the customers. Along on this side, you're seeing the different tasks we've given them from 1 to 14. And the tasks were about finding certain information on the intranet. On the intranet they already had for about a couple of years. And on this axis here, on the x-axis, you see the performance. Where have they actually gone to look for that information? And the red indicator shows that they went in a completely wrong place without even realizing it. And the green part is the percentage showing how much of them went directly or indirectly to the right place. So you can see that this is the intranet that they had for a while, for a couple of years, and there is a huge amount of red here showing that people don't know where to look for content within the intranet. So this looks great, but what does it really translate into the dollars and time wasted? So there's a number of studies that have been done around this, but time lost searching and information, especially in this study that we've done ourselves, we find that between 3 to 5 minutes per task is lost if the information could not be found. So if you have an organization of about 300 people, we're talking about $1,000 on average lost per day. And for 300 people organization over a year, this can amount to about $250,000 of lost productivity. So you're probably thinking, okay, so what are employees doing instead, right? So if we reduce this number, what are they doing instead? Well, instead, they're not reworking information that is already there. They're not sending emails to their colleagues who are already flooded with emails. So essentially there's, people are not missing deadlines, there's higher engagement, and people get a lot more work done, and they're more enthusiastic coming to work and doing work. So some of you may think, okay, well, there's a lot of new cool things coming out in the internet space. So, there's lots of new features. How does that impact my productivity, and how does that impact my users? So more features is not the answer. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. In fact, I recently published an article on CMS Wire, if you had a chance to check it out, why internet sites fail despite ever-increasing functionality. And the reason why they fail is because the functionality is not tailored to what users need. So for example, on this, on the right-hand side here, you have a screenshot of SharePoint Online, and this has literally been taken a couple of weeks ago, this screenshot. And this is a landing page of the typical SharePoint, landing page. When you click on the office bar and you say SharePoint, this is what you see. It's basically a collection of sites. And users have no idea where to find things. There's a search bar right here. There's links. There's some featured and favorite links, but really it's just a collection of links. It's not structured in any logical way. So the features are there, but they're not necessarily the front and center of your intranet. So that's really important to bring up and put together the intranet that makes sense for users within your organization, and not just kind of dump features on users. So with that, tip number 2, your users are all listening to the same radio station, and it's WIIFM. And I love this quote from Susan Henley. Susan Henley is a very well-known authority on knowledge management, and she's presenting at all of Microsoft conferences. And I borrowed this quote from her because it summarizes things really, really well. What's WIIFM? You're probably wondering. That's what's in it for me. Right, so everybody's kind of coming in and they're like, well, it's great that you're launching this new intranet, but what is it in for me? So it's really important to acknowledge that, because that will help you build intranet that's answering specific users' concerns, and they will be much more productive and appreciate it. So with that, there's 3 kind of currents that we see in a typical organization. There's a current coming from a communications team. So communications team usually says, we're investing heavily in these communications tools like SharePoint, but people don't seem to stick around, right? It's kind of going back to the first day is the best day of any launch. The business users are, on the other hand, thinking along the lines, well, information is both, everywhere and nowhere. I'm better off with email. Why can things work like Google, right? So I bet you anything, a lot of you heard this last phrase. We hear that a lot. And of course, IS team, the poor IS team is, we're thinking we're upgrading all these tools, but users still don't seem happy. People come up with shortcuts and creative solutions that are risky and prone to breach. So there's concerns coming from IT. They want to make things right, but they don't understand why are people not happy and why are they using all these external tools. So, what happened throughout earlier this year in the summer, SharePoint modern framework is becoming more and more mature. And with that modern framework, there's a lot more core features that are coming to the platform. So there's better performance, so pages are faster to load. Simplified content authoring, so things are easier to author, it takes less time to author, there's less room for error, and basically less support needed. Some new social features to improve employee engagement, and really good and robust mobile experience. So these are core foundational basics coming in SharePoint. So they're available there. They're just not exposed 100% to the surface, or a lot of times they're not configured. So one of the things that we did this summer to coincide with Microsoft release, we've supercharged our Origami Intranet to deliver what users really care about in the intranet. So rather than some of the features that were in the platform, we brought them to the front in our templates. And some of the features that weren't there, we've added them as part of our tool. And I'll show you both versions so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So some of the big things in Origami Modern Released are things that are used daily, and these are, fresh personalized design, content personalization, and favorites. So that's basically to combat the users struggling to find information. Enhanced findability. And findability, and I love this quote from Sam Marshall, who's the founder of Clearbox and really also well-known internet expert. Findability is not the same thing as searchability. So just because things are searchable doesn't mean that people can find them. And what we really want to have is something that's findable. That's a key. So enhanced findability there. More interactive employee engagement. Getting people together and keeping people informed. And rich content authoring. So for content authors to be able to create things easily with templates. And finally, fully responsive mobile intranet. So these are the key themes in Origami's latest release. So rather than talking about it, I wanted to show you some of these things in action and tie them back into the whole idea of how to make the most out of your intranet with your existing tools or with when you're building a new intranet. So let me switch my screen here to my browser. And Erica, if you could confirm that we see the browser window.
Looks great.
Looks great. Awesome. Okay. So this is, first off, full disclosure, this is running in SharePoint Online, and there is a Origami Framework running on the top of SharePoint Online. So some of these features are Origami features. Some of them are out-of-the-box features. So first off, as I mentioned earlier about this whole, people, this graph showing you all this red where people aren't able to find information they're looking for. It's really important to have, properly structured information architecture and navigation. As you can see, SharePoint Online comes with a really out-of-the-box and really robust mega menu. Use it, take advantage of it. But make sure that you structure information in a way that your organization and people within your organization understand it, right? So if you have workflows and processes, and what are some of the key workflows and types of workflows and processes, pull them up to the top. So that's really important, and this is what we do that's what we start with in all of our workshops before we start putting together the site. So that's the first thing. Second of all, of course, it might be trivial, and make sure the intranet reflects your brand, right? So in this case, we see this red and blue everywhere throughout the intranet. It's really simple. SharePoint Online has a theme engine built in. Origami has its own also addition to that theme engine to color all the apps. But really, it's important to bring that familiarity feeling to the users. To your users, because if the tool looks unfamiliar, looks like something else, third party, they're not gonna necessarily adopt it right away. It's gonna look like something external. So to bring that familiarity closer to the users is really inexpensive, and it's really important. So that's another element. So a lot of times intranets are used for communications, and as I mentioned, that's one of the goals for communications teams. So news and events are important. But don't forget that a lot of times people are not just looking for corporate news and events, for things that are happening within an organization. They're also looking for people news and events. And so if you have a platform like Yammer or other platform that you're using to bring up people conversations around people, bring them up at the top as well. So in this case, we have Yammer featured right on the right-hand side. And that gets used quite often. There's also recognitions and shout-outs section here where people can nominate others for their achievements or just give a shout-out. And of course, there's your traditional corporate news and corporate communications. So with it, let me show you what are some of the new things that are available for content authors. So I'm going to click View All and open All News page. So for content authors, what's really a huge time saver is just how quick and easy it is to author a news post. So I'm going to create a news post, and and I'm going to give it a title. And here, for instance, I'm authoring on behalf of Jeanette. So I can just update the name. And this is something that a lot of communication managers are doing, right? Writing articles on behalf of other people, or stories on behalf of other people. I'm going to add a new image here. And I'm going to upload an image from my computer. Okay. So, but one of the things that you'll notice here, I can quickly change the focus of this image. And this is something that you either had to use Photoshop before or do a lot of editing in some of the simpler tools. But this is now available out of the box. You can essentially assign or change the focus of an image in just a few seconds. In terms of the content, the tools that are available for editing of the content are much more simplified now. So for instance, in my case, it took me no time at all to add this text app. And also, as I insert my text, you can easily format all of your headings to match your specific style guide. So things, people aren't going to be using something that will break your style guide. There's a lot of different formats and templates available here. So I'm going to add the vertical section here. So perhaps I'm going to put a timer. This is if this is an event that your company is doing. In this case, I can put a call to action and say something like sign up. And of course, let's just put a dummy URL for now. And that's it. So as you can see, it really takes no time at all to put together a really nice, good looking news article. And in here, I can also specify if I want to display this article right at the top and front center of my image carousel. I can put it right at the carousel and post it. And just like that, without navigating anywhere away from the page, I was able to put together a news article. So if I go back to my home page, let me see if my new article has been posted. And there's my new article that's been posted on the carousel. Okay, so this is really powerful and important for content authors. There's a number of other templates that you're also likely going to be using as a content author. So for example, a template for some of the landing pages for a company page. It's really important to allow your content authors to choose it from as many different templates as possible, so they don't have to recreate things from the scratch. There is, for things like articles about employee benefits and so on, there's another common format that's used as well. So lots of different templates is definitely something that will help your content authors not build things from scratch. So whether you're using an existing platform that you are that you're planning to upgrade or just planning to enhance, make sure you have a lot of templates so your content authors have a lot of choice from different types of consistent layouts. Okay, so we talked a lot about also in the beginning about this concept of people not able to find things and how do we make things easier for people to find. So one of the things that we strongly advocate is making sure that creating a central repository for all of the information. So you may have different types of templates and samples created by different departments, by different groups, and they can be on different sites and areas, and some of them might be on your public site, some of them might be in your HRMS system, and so on and so forth. But it's really important for users to really not care where they are, but have a central point of accessing all of them. So that simplifies users' ability to get a specific task done, rather than hunting down and using search and trying to see, is it on the HRMS system? Is it on this site, on the project side? If that's important, if that form or template is important, put them all in central location. So for that, we're actually simplified it a lot with one of the Origami tools here. And we call it an info directory, because it can essentially bring a lot of different information all in one spot. And I'm logged in here as an author, so I can see the new button and edit button. But as a user, I can search just by keyword. These, by the way, are all ranked on a popularity order. So if users are accessing some of the content more frequently, it comes up to the top. This being a demo site, of course, has some of the less relevant items. Or users can click on any of the tags. For example, if I'm looking for logos, I can click on marketing, and here's my logos. And I can see perhaps I want to download a logo package or a style guide. But also, if I have a form to request a collateral, I can hit that button right from here and access that relevant request right from within one place. So it really simplifies a lot of clicks for the user, or reduces clicks for the user. As an author, I have permissions here to add a new file. So add one of those additional requests, perhaps a form or another package, update information. So I don't need to really go anywhere. I can change it right from here, and I can point to various locations, not just on this particular place. Okay, so that's in terms of forms and templates and workflows, policies and procedures. A lot is being used as well, how-tos, and so on. And a lot of times in organizations, there's a concept of projects, right? So teams work with initiatives and sites and projects. And as you remember in the beginning of the slide, I showed kind of this out-of-the-box SharePoint template, how all of these sites are rendered. So it's really important to tie them all together and allow people to access information that they already have access to, just kind of group it together in one consistent way. So one of the things that you see in this directory, which is Origami directory, which just really brought it all together. You can see the projects and all types of sites that I have access to. And, or I can refine a particular, by a particular type of site. So in this case, if I want to find a work group that I have access to, I can click on here. If I want to show all of the things that are my favorites, that I favorited, I can click on favorites, and that'll refine things further. So really kind of helping people find things easier. And so obviously we talked a little bit about employee engagement, and a lot of these tools do contribute to employee engagement. One of the things that I wanted to point out in terms of employee engagement is a lot of times the tools that are available in an organization don't really allow for employee input. So we've seen some third-party tools used for things like recognitions and shoutouts, but also a lot of times their intranets don't really harness that internal knowledge and ability for people to contribute valuable ideas and feedback. So one of the things that we've added is the idea crowdsourcing site. An idea crowdsourcing site is essentially a place for employees to submit an idea. If you want to open it for moderation, it's possible for it to be for these ideas to be moderated. Employees can search for an idea, sort them by latest or top ideas, so that way things are bubbling up based on their activity, how many people have viewed, commented, and liked the particular idea. So that's one of the tools that you can use for employee engagement. Recognitions and shoutouts is another one. So one of the things that is important for tools like recognitions and shoutouts is the tie recognitions and shoutouts to an existing channel as well of your communication. So for example, if I have these recognitions and shoutouts, nobody would, if it's the first time that I've ever gotten recognition and I got lucky to see it at the top 5 or top 3 that I have on a homepage, that's great. But I have no idea whether someone nominated me for recognition or not. So it's important for you, if you're not using an automated tool like Origami, if you're using something out of the box to render these, ensure that you're using also alerts feature. So you can notify people either via email or text that they've gotten recognition. It'll guarantee you to get a lot more engagement with that content, because people actually know that someone has nominated them for, has given them a recognition. So that's important as well. Speaking of these different channels, I don't know if you noticed, next time you take a public transit or subway, check out what people are doing on their phones. one of the things that you'll notice that there a lot of them are on social media, right? So people are either on Instagram, on Twitter. So a lot of downtime people spend actually engaging with communities. And in this case, these are external communities. But that's a really good opportunity to tie in some of these other channels to a mobile experience, because this is where a lot of people are really spending sometimes half an hour, sometimes 45 minutes, and you can harness that time that they have to for them to kind of engage themselves in your work community as well. So the reason why that's important is Microsoft is strongly promoting the mobile app, and you can see Get Mobile App everywhere here. So having a consistent mobile experience is especially that experience that allows you to harness the engagement is really going to bring a lot more visits to the intranet. In fact, one of the studies that was done that by bringing social tools to mobile increases the engagement on the intranet by 300%. And Microsoft mobile app has come a long way to really be more engagement, because you get push notifications for things like likes and comments. So people are much more engaged with the content. But also make sure that if there's any, the functionality that is on your intranet, make sure that it's really targeted towards mobile. So as you can see, some of the Origami tools that we have render in the mobile compatible view, but also put an emphasis on things that people would actually do on a mobile device while they're elsewhere. So for example, one of the things that I commonly find all the time is staff directory, right? So that's one of the things that is really needs to be targeted towards mobile, because people, a lot of times when people are on the go and you're waiting outside of the office and you need to get a hold of your coworker because nobody's at the office or you've arrived at a different location. This is really an important part to put tools like directory and some of these information tools to make sure that they're mobile compatible. So that's another aspect of the mobile, for the mobile. All right, so and as I mentioned, I have a little tip here. Did you know that you can increase employee engagement by over 300% by making social tools, social features available on mobile? So that's a really good opportunity to take advantage of. That's pretty much, I know the time flies, and this has been our half an hour. One of the things I wanted to point out, we'd love to give advice. So if you have questions or something that something that you've seen in the demo that you want to touch on more, absolutely feel free to send us an email, get in touch with us. If you want to see a personalized demo of Origami, we can do that. We've also got the Intranet launch checklist. So this is a really good prep guide if you're about to launch an intranet or upgrade an intranet. There's a lot of good, it's really condensed. There's over 60 different items in that checklist, and you can download it from our website under resources. So I encourage you to check that out as well and see if you're missing something or if there's things that you can do better. I know we're running out of time in the Q&A, so what we'll do is we'll, any questions that were summarized in our Q&A panel, we'll write a blog post and make sure that we get back to you on those as well. And other than that, I really thank you for everyone for joining this webinar, and